Live television, man. You can't be doing that kind of stuff. What are you doing? Knocking over buckets. You back up here. Say hi. You gotta start watching what you're doing, goofball.
Hi.
I got some help tonight on the live stream. So, anyways, welcome back to Your Lake Fork Guide. Here we go with a live stream once again. Give it a few minutes, let some people get here. Hey, there's somebody.
It's the cat.
Don't worry about that cat. He doesn't quite get the concept of live stream yet, so this might be the roughest live stream ever. So, let's see what we got going on here. What's up, everybody? Let's see. Bass Killer Murphy and Spence the Bassmaster. What is going on? How's our day? Our day is great. Went out with Heath Taylor this morning. If you don't know who Heath Taylor is, he is the creator of all the Smash Tech custom baits. Me and Heath went out and did a little filming this morning. It did not go as well as we hoped for, but Heath stuck a really big fish right off the bat. So we got one big fish on camera. We got plenty to make a video. So we're going to have a pretty good, decent video coming out with Heath next week. What up, Jay Laugh? Hey, Jay Laugh. I appreciate it, buddy. Thank you very much, sir. I've been meaning to text you or call you. I appreciate it, dog. Hey, man, I appreciate it. Somebody says, love the vids, awesome content. Hey, I really appreciate it. Somebody last week commented on one of the videos, said I had good content, but I made the worst videos. So I appreciate you telling me you like them. Yup. There it is. All right. Well, here we go. We got a pretty good amount in. That's awesome bait. You like that bait? Mm-hmm. My kid's in here with me. He's really excited. Ty, you want to show him bait? Show him bait. This is Ty's top bait of the week right here.
Right here.
Woo. You know what kind of bait that is?
It looks like a trout.
A trout looks like a trout. It does a little bit, but it's a bluegill looking bait. But yeah. That is a Jerry Rago swim bait. Weedless Jerry Rago 8-inch, 7-inch bluegill.
Wow, that is one big bluegill.
That's one big bluegill.
I thought of bluegill first because of its red chin.
Yeah, what do you think would eat that?
Probably a giant bass.
Giant bass, that's right. All right, watch out. All right. That being said, Ty done submitted his first pick of the day for baits this week. What is the best finesse rig for ponds in the summer? Hey, I can show you that. That's actually, I got one that's a really good one in our top 5 baits. But Wacky Worm. Our Wacky Rig Trick Worm is probably the best pond bait 365 days a year as far as a finesse rig goes. But I've got another finesse deal that I've been using, so we might as well start top 5 baits with that. I'll go ahead and grab it first. For those of you that watched the live stream at our seminar last week, I talked about this technique. This is a 3/0 EWG hook, and this is a Lake Fork Tackle Magic Shad, not to be confused with the live Magic Shad. This is just a regular old Magic Shad, no swim slots. It's kind of like a fluke style bait, but that tail, see that tail? That tail is different, that flat tail. And the plastic on this floats a little better than a regular fluke does. We actually take this bait, throw it up on the grass edges, any type of flooded vegetation or underwater aquatic vegetation. We throw it up there and we walk it really slow. If you You what?
I do some top baits.
Okay, hang on just a second.
Gotcha.
Sorry about that, getting interrupted by my kid. Told you I was going to be a rough live stream. But we take that fluke style bait from Lake Fork Tackle Magic Shad, and we twitch it. Just twitch, twitch, twitch. Pop that slack, and that thing, you can make it walk. And it'll actually walk right over the top of grass and right off the edges of grass. It walks, and it's weedless, and it catches big fish. I mean, it does catch big fish. It catches a lot of fish, too, but it also catches big fish. So that's bait number 1 for our top 5 baits right there. Hey, Ty.
What? Is it my turn?
Is it you? Tell him. You want to talk? Ty's got something to tell him. What is that thing?
I have no idea. I found it on the cabinet. Look how big it is.
It's a giant.
Yeah, that's one giant.
That's a giant swim bait, isn't it?
I just found it right there with those other swim baits on your cabinet.
Daddy's got a lot of swim baits, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's funny.
Do I got too many swim baits?
Well, this is my top 5 bait too.
You doing a top 5 baits too?
Yes.
You haven't even been fishing this week. How do you know what to throw?
I don't know. I'm just picking out bait.
You're just picking out baits at random, aren't you? Just randomly giving y'all top 5 baits.
Nah, it's one giant though.
That is a giant bait. All right, jump down, bud. Let me finish this up, okay? All right, second, old yellow belly. All this vegetation, the more it thickens up, the more those fish relate to it in the hot summertime, the better yellow belly gets bit. We're catching a lot of fish on it. This is a brand new yellow belly. I had to retire the last one. I actually just about wore all the paint off the side and then I lost him. I don't know what happened. I lost him like in the boat too. I didn't like lose him on a break off or nothing. He was in the floor of the boat and then he was gone. I don't know if he blew out or what happened, but there you go. Yellow belly's down. So we got the fluke. We got the yellow belly. I got a new bait to tell y'all about. That's a brand new bait that I'm going to show y'all right now. Is it pretty cool, Ty?
Yes, that is awesome.
Man, cat. Hey, why don't you go outside and take that cat and go put him in his kennel for now. His little cage. All right. So this is just a buzz bait, right? Like everybody sees it. Everybody's throwing a buzz bait, knows what a buzz bait is. No big deal. There's a difference here, though. This bait, if you can see that right there, actually clacks off the head. So you get it at the right distance, and then when you spin it, when it comes across the water, it makes the most god-awful racket. And I haven't gotten a chance to put the fish catches on camera yet. They've been on guide trips when we've caught them on this. But I promise you, there's a couple guys that have seen this thrown, that have seen it get bit, that I know they're sold on it. There's not even a name for this yet. It just says Prototype Lures on the package. Now, maybe that's the name of the company. I don't know. Thanks, buddy. Anyway, it just says Prototype Lures, but Ronnie Parker up at Lake Fork Tackle, if you get a chance to stop by there, he has some that they shipped him that he is going to sell. They're ready to sell right now. They're in kind of a generic package. Don't know what the price point on them is, but that buzzbait is a completely different sound than I've ever heard in my life. I understand there used to be a buzzbait made that looked just like that. I never saw it back then, but I'm really impressed with that buzzbait. It is a big deal. So it's really catching the snot out of them. All right. Hold on, bud. Let me finish this up, okay?
Well, can I say something after that?
At the end, I'll let you say something, okay? All right. Ty wants to talk to y'all so bad. He is not camera shy at all. This is a Yamamoto walking bait, but, you know, walking baits in the junior size in low light conditions will be tied on for me all summer. How many is that? 4? Oh, and then the swim baits. So the weedless swim baits. There's a few different ones I'm using, but just anything from a 4-inch, a 5-inch weedless swim bait. I am primarily every day using the Owner Flashy Swimmer hook. And I'm using a few different ones. I'm using the Kitech. I'm using the Smash Tail Junior and Smash Tail. And I'm using one that I'm not going to share just yet because I just got my hands on it and I don't really know everything about it yet, but it is catching some fish. Maybe eventually I'll turn you guys on to it because it so far seems to be a really good bait. But I just want a little more time with it in my hands before I start talking about it so I really know what I'm talking about. What are your thoughts on the green light? All right, I'm going to tell y'all a secret. I used to night fish, had some night fishing tournaments out there. I assume you're talking about the green underwater lights on Lake Fork. We have these underwater lights that people put in outside, off the edges of their docks and stuff, and they're just these big square lights that are underwater, and they're green. On we used to fish them a lot in those night fishing tournaments. There's a couple of secrets. Number one is be there early. If you're there when they first turn on, before all those gar and catfish get over them, then the bass get right on top of them. Here's the other secret. Right on the edges, like outside where the glow is, where you can't see the fish shadows, even once the gar and catfish get stacked up in there, if you fish outside of it, you're still relating to that light. You're still in the area, but you're not actually fishing the light itself. We used to catch the bass pretty dang good around those lights, fishing outside of them. Believe it or not, one of the things that worked the very best is a big old giant flutter spoon, and we actually would swim it. We wouldn't let it go to the bottom. We would swim that flutter spoon. So just make a cast past it and actually swim that flutter spoon, just kind of a, up and down retrieve, just slow up and down retrieve coming through the water at night. We used to smoke them around those lights doing that. Hog hunting, watching me live. I love it. What color shaky head worm do you use right now? Plum. Let's see. Plum. The plum colored worm with the green flake, and the plum colored worm with the blue flake. That's my summertime colors on worms. Best ones. All right, here's one. So how should I handle a bleep on a good fishery that I watched a few live baiters kill a 6-pound plus fish, 6-pound plus fish just to take a picture? Once they knew it was dead, they didn't even take it home to eat. So here's how you handle that. Not sure what state you're in. I know in Texas, you could actually... If you got documentation, took a picture of those people putting back a fish that was dead, and you got their registration numbers, you could turn that into a game warden and they could get a ticket from it, possibly. You definitely should inform the game warden of what's going on, give them a description of the boat, try to get the registration numbers off the boat, and inform the game warden of what they're doing, because that is a big fine. They take that very seriously. It's called wanton waste, and you're not allowed to put a fish back that's dead. That's one of the deals. If they're killing fish and putting them back, that's a big problem, and you need to contact the authorities and give them the information on those people and let them handle that. Hey, Donnie Smith Jr., hey, you bought the Strike King spoon, the nickel spoon, and some other type. So here's the deal on that. Big Joe Flutter Spoon, and you have to look up Joe Spates on Facebook and contact him on that, or call him, look up Weedless Lures and call him. But Big Joe Flutter Spoon is made by Weedless Lures on Lake Fork. There is no website. Joe Spates, S-P-A-I-T-S, is the guy. He originally invented the Flutter Spoon, and everything else is a knockoff, and I'll be honest with you, it's not as good. He makes the very best flutter spoon. There's no doubt. I'm not technically on his pro staff. I still pay for baits from him. I get some custom paint jobs for free. That's about all I get out of it. But Joe is a good friend, and he's a very small-time guy. He doesn't want to get any bigger. He's kind of an old, retired guy, but he invented the flutter spoon, and he has some things about his that are different. I'm not going to divulge his secrets on his spoon. Because he keeps those as kind of, his intellectual property. He doesn't tell anybody the secret. He's just a few people, and I'm fortunate to know him. But his spoons are different. They fall different, and they are better. Yeah. You just on those flutter spoons around the lights at night. You just throw them out there, and you literally just kind of slowly reel them in. Every once in a while, pause it, and then keep reeling. You don't want to let them get to the bottom. A lot of those lights have trees, and you'll lose those flutter spoons. But yeah, we actually just reel them in like an old casting spoon, and we catch a lot of fish around those lights on them. Yeah, the hookup ratio on that owner shaky head, it's a beast, man. It's a good shaky head. Yeah, so look up Joe Spates Somebody says they're in the Sooner State. You can call him. I can't look up the number because I'm live streaming on my phone, or I give it to you. If you go back and look up the Flutter Spoon videos if you go back and look up the how to fish offshore structure video that I did back in May, there is his phone number is in the description on that video. All right, trying to get back up here to the early questions. I have never been to Ohio in my life, let alone going there to fish for smallies. All right, here's a question. What are you looking for on your graph when you fish flutter spoons? So nothing in particular. Like, I fish the flutter spoons on the bottom a lot. I know a lot of people like to fish them for suspended fish, and that does work, you know. Get to know your fall rate, count them down, rip them through them, count them down, rip them through them. For suspended fish, that they do catch those suspended fish sometimes. But I'll actually fish for them. I'll actually fish a flutter spoon when the fish are on the very bottom. But you can't have any timber or brush piles or you'll lose your flutter spoons. When you do hang one up, you get right over the top and kind of bang it up and down, you can get it unhung. But I'll actually fish a flutter spoon where I'll fish it like a Texas rig. I'll throw it out there and I'll just kind of hop it. Just hop it. I'm just doing little hops off the bottom. That's actually how I catch most of my deep flutter spoon fish. Just barely hopping it off the bottom. I was taught that by Joe Spates. He's the guy that invented the technique, so it works pretty good. When fishing deep, 15 to 20 plus foot, what on main lake points do you look for on the depth finder? What I look for, guys, if you haven't looked at my how to fish offshore structure video, please be sure and go back and search that one up. We did it in May. I was wearing the same red shirt that I always wear. But it specifically says on the thumbnail and in the title, Fishing Off Structure How To. The deal on that is, I explained the main lake point deal in very good detail. I don't have time to go into great detail here. Basically, what I want to see is a flat spot in the depth zone that I'm looking for. So if I'm looking for fish in 20 foot, I want a flat spot in 20 foot, and I want a sharp drop. And I want it to run way out into the middle of the lake. And I don't necessarily have to have timber or brush. That's kind of a bonus when I find those. What size weight do you start with when flipping in and around grass? Currently, I tend to start heavy, then go down. Nick, I would actually recommend the exact opposite of that, buddy. So what I recommend is starting light and going up. The philosophy on that is you always want it to be the lightest weight that you can get through the grass. So if a half-ounce weight will get through that grass, that's what you want to use. I usually start around 3/4. If the grass is matted, I usually start around 3/4 because it takes a pretty heavy weight to get through that grass. So I'll start with a 3/4 ounce. I usually end up probably using a 1 ounce more than anything else. Every once in a while I'll have to go to 1.5 ounces or a 2 ounce. Well, guys, I'm fishing. Somebody asked, what do you use for heavy grass in the summer? I am fishing a lot of heavy grass right now this summer, and what I'm using is, a lot of these baits that I showed you tonight. A buzz bait on the edges and right over the edge of the mat. I'm using a frog over the mat, and then we do punch. Well, the punching wasn't on here. I don't know what's going on this year. I'm just not catching them punching. I found some water that's set up good for punching. It just hasn't really gotten going yet. I don't know why. I mean, they're so bait related. There's so much bait back there that these fish are just chasing this bait out from under the edges of these mats. And we're catching more fish on the top waters and the moving baits. And I've caught a few fish punching, but it's nothing really consistent. So that's kind of the deal. That's what's going on there. Don't have a topo map on your unit. He says, don't have a topo map on my unit and I'm going on a big fishing trip. What do you suggest I do? Well, buddy, it becomes a lot tougher. So you just have to spend more time looking at your depth finder if you've got a depth finder. What you got to do is pay attention to the shoreline, pay attention to the natural points that the bank makes. Look for, what you want to look for is an area where you see a steep bank on the shoreline and then a point that comes out of it. So you can kind of see it'll have a steep bank and then it'll slowly taper to a flat bank on the point and then back to a steep bank on the other side. Well, that extended into that lake. And so what that tells you is more than likely that point's going to run out there flat and going to have those drops on either side. Look for stuff like that. You can actually follow creek channels without a map if you know what you're doing, but that's really hard for me to explain how to do on a video. If you know what kind of trees in your area tend to grow on a creek channel, you can actually look at the timber and follow the bigger timber. You need to know what kind of tree it is. It's really hard for me. I have to show you. So that's something I have to show you in person. But if you know how to identify different trees and the size of trees that grow on creek channels in that area, then you can follow the creek channels by looking at the timber in the lake. If it has any. If it doesn't, then you're going to have to go around to different points and just really pay attention to your sonar looking for steep drop-offs and points that extend out in the lake. Hey, all right, I'm gonna reveal some truth on this right here. So I got some guys asking about the sprinkler frog. I have thrown it. I have not caught anything on it yet. I haven't thrown it a lot. I'm not saying it's a terrible bait. It doesn't catch fish. I know it catches fish. You know, there's been other guys posting videos of it catching fish. In my opinion, this is a phenomenal concept that they dropped the ball on execution. They did a poor job of doing what they could have done to make this really good. Word has it, there's a new one coming soon. I should have one in my hands in the next week or so. When I do, I'll show it to you. It's going to be a much better version of this. This tail, that's just cheap junk. I mean, they could have done a lot more with this than what they did. They got in a hurry to release it and make some money, and they made a lot of money. But there will be other ones that come out after this that will be better baits. This was a great idea that they messed up the execution on. That's my personal opinion. Jason Lafferty, it certainly doesn't take anything away from how much I appreciate you sending it to me. Jason Lafferty, one of our viewers, sent this to me when they were sold out on Tackle Warehouse. And Jay Laff, when I get my new ones in, buddy, you will get one of the new and improved versions of this sent to you courtesy of me because you sent this to me. I really appreciate it, bud. But that's my honest opinion. You guys know, hey, you may not always like to hear it, but I'm going to tell you the truth on this channel. So. My favorite, somebody's asking about the spoon again. So my favorite spoon that I use is the Big Joe in the Jumbo Joe size. The biggest spoon that Joe makes is my favorite flutter spoon. It's a 6-inch, I want to say 6-inch or 7-inch flutter spoon that Joe Spates makes. Somebody asked peg or no peg. I assume you're referring to when I was talking about fishing grass. Always pegged. When I'm fishing heavy vegetation and I'm punching, flipping grass in the summertime, it's always pegged. Looking to get the 5-inch shad from Smash Tech, what size rod would be good for that, and maybe the 7-inch baits they make? Okay, so that's going to be two different rods on the 5-inch versus the 7-inch. On my 5-inch swim baits of all varieties, I'm throwing that on the 7.2 medium heavy limit series rod. The same rod that I throw a lot of my bigger crankbaits on. The same rod that I throw, when I say bigger crankbaits, I mean like my oversized shallow crankbaits, not deep divers. Spinner baits, just a lot of different moving baits. So those 5-inch weedless swim baits, I'm throwing out 7.2 medium heavy. I'm throwing 20-pound fluorocarbon. On the 7-inch baits, I'm throwing that on a 7-11 extra heavy. The reason why is because on a lot of those 7-inch baits, you're using a giant hook, like a 10-aught, something crazy, especially on the weedless ones. So I want all the hookup power I can get to drive that giant gauge hook through those big fish's head. I throw the convict and the other 7-inch weedless baits that I throw, like that Rago that Ty was holding up earlier. I throw that on 7-11 extra heavy. And right now, this time of year, I'm fishing around so much grass, I've actually gone to braid on my big rod. So there you go. All right, just a couple more questions, guys, and then we're going to start closing this up. Try to go back and get some of these early guys that were way up here. All right, I guess I kind of caught up to those. Deep cranking? Yeah, there's some guys. I've been fishing around shallow grass so much I haven't been doing it. But there are some guys catching some fish on deep crankbaits. So I'll go on and tell you guys kind of what I like to use. In fact, I got one hanging on the wall right here. Go on and tell you guys what I like to use for deep cranking. This is, without a doubt, my favorite deep crankbait. This thing came out a year or two ago. This is the Cloud 9 series from 6 Sense Lures. That's my deep cranking color. I deep crank with this 5 or 6 times to 1 any other crankbait. This is the 25-foot C25 is what it's called. It's a 25-foot diver from 6 Sense Lures, Cloud 9 series. That is, without a doubt, my favorite deep crankbait that I own. As far as a setup, I like to actually throw that on 15-pound fluorocarbon. And, dang, I tore that box up good. We'll deal with that later. 15-pound fluorocarbon. I go with a 7-11 limit rod in the medium-heavy variety. That is my cranking setup. That crankbait actually catches a lot of suspended fish in that 20-foot range. But when you want to fish it a little bit higher, if you want to fish it higher than what it says, so if it's a 25-foot diver, crank that line up to 20-pound test, and it'll stay about 20 foot. And then you can catch those fish that are suspended. Huh? Yeah, you can have that, buddy. He always wants baits. The kid's got more baits than I do, I'm telling you. You can adjust your line size to make that thing hit different depths, and you still get that big, hard, wobbling, thumping profile. Now, the Cloud 9 series has 4 or 5 different depths that they make, where they have this same body with different bills on them that dive different depths. So you can actually get this in a square bill. You can get this in a medium diver. You can get this in 4 or 5 different depths. So that's what I'm using for deep cranking. There's a lot of guys starting to catch fish on crankbaits. I haven't been one of them because I'm fishing shallow so much. Let's see. Somebody asked if I'm sponsored by Lake Fork Tackle. Yep, I absolutely am sponsored by Lake Fork Tackle. Jay Laugh likes them. Them Cloud 9s are for real, man. Somebody says they've been killing it on the Cloud 9s. They are a for real bait. I've said it before. I'll say it again. 6 Sense Lures, the best part about them, everything they make is just top notch, top quality. You know it's going to come out of the package ready to fish with an excellent paint job, excellent hardware, excellent components. So I love 6 Sense Lures. You got anything you want to add to it there, Hammer? What? Come on, show it to them. Show it to them. Go ahead. They're watching. Right there.
This may not be a giant, but it could probably catch some big fish.
That's a pretty giant bait, isn't it?
It's not so big.
It's pretty big, though. It's bigger than your hand. Hold your hand up next to it. About the size of your hand. Look, come here. Let me see your hand. It's bigger than your hand. So, hey, wow. That's the weedless. That's the big gizzard shed bait that Smash Tech makes. That's the weedless version of that. You like that bait too?
Yeah. There's a smaller version of this bait.
He's all about the big swim baits right now, aren't you, buddy?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember what you caught your first fish on?
No.
Because you were so young? He was only 2 when he caught his first fish. And his first fish came on a jig, a finesse jig.
Cool.
And his second fish came on the very next cast, didn't it?
Yes, sir.
You remember that? You probably barely remember that, don't you?
Barely.
Barely. You were so young.
I remember the part where I caught 2 fish.
2 fish
on
at
the same
once?
rod.
Yep.
That was cool.
Yep, that's pretty cool. All right, well, tell everybody bye, Ty. We'll fix
Bye.
Yep, somebody says 6 Sense has replaced Lucky Craft as far as hard baits for me, with a few exceptions. Yeah, absolutely. 6 Sense lures, you can't get anything better than that. They're so good. Yeah, that's the mini your Lake Fork guide right there. He loves to fish. He has since day one when he was a baby. He would go out and stay out all day with me, no matter the weather. He loves it just like his dad. So it's my little partner in crime right there. Anyways, guys, it's time for me to get out of here, man. Hey, I appreciate y'all joining us here as always. It means the world that you follow the channel and comment on all this stuff. What is it, buddy?
Need it.
Tell them. You got something else to tell y'all.
Do you see this bait? The one that Daddy told you in the top 5 baits?
What about it, bud?
I gave him this.
What? You gave me that?
Yes.
You
Remember?
probably did.
You told me to get it over there from the boat.
Oh, yeah, you went and got it on the other boat. You sure did. That's right. He went and got it for me to get ready for the video. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Hey, we appreciate you guys watching Your Lake Fork Guide as always. We're going to keep the videos coming. We're going to try to get them better. I just got a new laptop today. It's supposed to help me with some editing stuff. So maybe I'll be decent at editing for a change. And we appreciate the loyalty of all you guys. Y'all follow along really good. Got some things coming. I'm working on the apparel. We're having a little bit of issue with the logo when we blow it up. The logo that we have designed that you guys see on the YouTube channel and Facebook page and everywhere else. We're having to redo that, so it's going to take a little more time than I hoped for, but we're working on apparel. We're working on some stickers, some decals that you guys will be able to buy, and all that good stuff. And once again, thank you very much. And I guess it's time for me to quit mumbling because that's what I do at the end of videos. So I'll see you guys next time right here on Your Lake Fork Guide.
Bye.
Bye.
That was a good video.